Hey there. I'm sure if you are in the United States, the media buzz is crazy. You're feeling it, right? People are watching nothing else today but one particular topic, name withheld. But it brought back memories of years ago when I was training the PMP exam and I would throw in all sorts of interesting additional things. And one of the things I used to throw into my training was body language. And in the body language training, I would show my students clips. And these clips will enable them guess if someone was really telling the truth or if someone was lying. So we would have a section on body language, and we would look at things like self-touch gestures, behaviors that were not normal for a person typically, and holding on to a podium like it's a big old fort trying to escape from the press, and things such as that. But one of the hallmarks of lying became very, very evident. And that has been evidenced quite a bit today. In fact, if you are watching, you probably noticed and said, wait a minute. So I'm going to talk about one of those. Scott Rouse on his website, he calls this the reverse yes and no headshake. The reverse yes and no headshake goes like this. Phil, did you steal the donuts? Phil should say yes or no and back it up with a head nod or shake to go with what he's saying. So, Phil, did you steal the donuts? Yes. Phil stole the donuts. Phil, did you steal the donuts? No. Phil, did you steal the donuts? No. What does that tell you? You're saying one thing, but it's coming across differently. Your body language is giving you away. Let me read what Scott Rouse says here on his website. He says, I talked about this not long ago, he said, and showed Lance Armstrong in one of his depositions, shaking his head no, as he was lying while saying yes. He did the opposite of that as well when he shook his head yes, while lying and saying no. So in other words, oh dear, this is funny. You see, it takes an effort to do it the wrong way because if you're really telling the truth, it should come normally. No, yes. But to go against and say no, it takes a lot to do because it's out of the normal. You see, you don't say no while nodding yes. And then he says, this is one you've really got to pay attention to because most of the time, it isn't the person who is vigorously shaking their head yes while saying no. It's the person who is being still and saying yes while their head just ever so slightly shakes no. Did you see that today? I don't know if you did. I did. It's almost imperceivable sometimes. You really have to be watching for it. And that's exactly what I was watching for. And I couldn't believe how many times I did see that. So just a little tidbit for you. I'll share a few more with you. A few others that are typical are not breaking eye contact, looking straight at you, because they know not looking at you means they're lying. So they do everything possible to stare at you. How about not answering the question, going round and round in circles? Did you take it? Why would I? Why would I do that? Yeah, I wouldn't do that, or not saying I did not, What about invoking religion? Making reference to various religious books and religious habits. Not using contradictions while answering the question, pretty much like what I said before, did not versus didn't type of thing. And of course, this reverse yes and no head shake. Also, rather interestingly, we've got some more from CIA officers Philip Houston and Michael Floyd and Susan Carnicero in their book, Spy the Lie. We've got a few others here. Behavioral pause or delay, while there's a long delay before the question is answered. Verbal or non-verbal disconnect. A common verbal, non-verbal disconnect to watch out for occurs when a person nods affirmatively while saying no, similar to what I just said, or turns his head from side to side while saying yes. It's just hilarious. What about hiding the mouth or eyes? That's another one. throat clearing or swallowing. So don't shoot the messenger, but pay close attention to these nonverbal cues. They can really tell you a lot. Last but not least, I talked about self-touch gestures in the beginning. This is called hand-to-face activity. So be on the lookout for anything a person does with his face or in the head region in response to your question. This often takes the form of biting or licking the lips or pulling on the lips or ears. The reason goes back to simple high school science. You've asked a question and the question creates a spike in activity because a truthful response would be incriminating. That in turn triggers the autonomic nervous system to go to work to dissipate the anxiety, draining blood from the surfaces of the face, the ears, and the extremities, which can create a sensation of cold or itchiness. Well, I thought I would just go over some of those quick tips and points to know if someone was indeed taking you on the runaround or if they were really telling you the truth. I hope that gave you something to think about, things that make you go, Anyway, I'll speak to you again. This is a little bit of a deviation from our typical topic, but as a project manager, you do know that body language tells volumes. For example, in a class, I saw a student with a bouncing foot syndrome. I immediately knew what that meant. This student felt, I'm there, I know this, let's move on, but taking too long. And the moment I moved on, it stopped. So as a project manager, look out for these cues, not just to detect if someone is lying, but really to understand if someone has received your message, has understood your message, and is on board with whatever vision you're sharing. All right, I hope that was of value to you. Take care and bye for now.